My question is for Dr. Parsons. You said you wanted a definition of the meaning of life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you said that life is meaningful just by having friendships and finding, exploring, such as Einstein, and that his life was meaningless. Well, what is the point of life to explore and find new worlds if all who will exist and experience it will just end up dead, 6 foot under?
Oh, well.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Let's wrap it up.
It's such a good question, I wanted to jump right in.
Because with God, with Jesus Christ, God gives us an everlasting life, therefore giving it meaning.
Very good question. Let me say, though, that I take precisely the opposite view. Martin Heidegger, who was a German philosopher, said one thing that I really liked. He said, it is the fact that life is finite. It is the fact that we shall die that gives our life meaning, that gives us the responsibility of creating meaning in our lives. Yes, we only live 70 years, okay? 70 years, that's about it. Each day is important. Each day that you let slip by without doing something meaningful in your life is a day that is gone forever. Okay? All the more, the fact that we shall die means all the more that we have the responsibility of squeezing out of every moment of life, every day of life, squeezing as much meaning and significance as we can get. And, it took me 40 some odd years to realize that, but by golly, that's what I'm doing now.
Well, I think it's really odd to talk about I have the responsibility to squeeze meaning out of life. Responsible to whom? Okay, well, then in that case, I would say, why is it any different whether somebody acts responsibly or irresponsibility? Your destiny is unrelated to how you act. It doesn't make any difference. For example, you said Russell campaigned against the use of nuclear weapons. Mankind will be wiped out anyway in the heat death of the universe. It really ultimately makes no difference whether mankind ever existed or not, whether one campaigned against nuclear war or one just lived in self-indulgence and hedonism. So it does seem to me that Heidegger is quite wrong here, that Sartre and Camus and others were correct, that ultimately in the absence of God, life becomes absurd. There isn't any objective meaning to life, and the little meanings and projects we invent to fill our lives are really just pretense. They're not really objective meanings.
Question over here.
I have a comment for Dr. Craig. I am a non-believer and an atheist, and I'm somewhat offended, Dr. Craig, at your statement that we are immoral.
That we are what?
That we are immoral. You made that statement.
Did I?
I have a son, and teach him right from wrong because it is the right thing to do, not because some supernatural entity tells me to do this. If the Christians in this room get nothing else out of this debate, let them realize that atheists are just as kind and loving, if not more so, than Christians would be or aspire to be.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I think you misunderstood me.
Maybe I did, but I really did think you say that.
I never said or intended or believe that atheists are immoral. What I said is that if God doesn't exist, then even if right and wrong exist, which I think is doubtful on an atheistic view, it seems to me that in the absence of God, there isn't any objective right and wrong. They're just various socio-cultural values that have evolved in different societies and different cultures, the spin-offs of socio-biological evolution. But even if there were right and wrong, what I said is that it doesn't really matter how you live because your destiny is unrelated to your behavior. The good man ends up no different than the evil man. There's no difference between the Mother Teresa and the Joseph Stalin. So I'm not saying that atheists are immoral, by no means. What I was saying is that in the absence of God, morality becomes, in a sense, fictitious. It becomes pointless. There isn't any value in life because it doesn't change anything how you live. You all end up the same.
Albert Schweitzer wound up dead. Adolf Hitler wound up dead. Does that mean that there was no significance, no very deep, real significance in the difference between those two lives? I would say there is an overwhelming amount of significance. Okay, I can live 70 years, somebody else lives 70 years. How we live those years, to me, is something of overwhelming, precious significance, not to be discounted. The fact that we all do wind up in the grave, how does that in any way diminish or decrease the significance of life as we live it? In fact, I emphasize once again, you know, if you have a finite period of time, if God isn't going to give you happiness in the next life, folks, you must get your happiness right now. Remember Reverend Ike? Reverend Ike used to be this guy on TV. He says, I don't want my pie in the sky by and by. I want my pie on earth with ice cream right now. Folks, I'm telling you, get your pie, get your ice cream now.